It's the Viking Age.
Explains the Lysiraptor. Fuck!
What? I mean, Malaka.
Hello everybody, Jack here with another video, and since the confirmation that the next Assassin's Creed game is going to be set in the Viking Age, the community of fandom seems to be divided. Some are quite happy for this announcement, because the Viking Age is one that is vast and rich in history, while others do seem to think that Ubisoft is running out of ideas. For which I say, what? Are you crazy? Like, history is vast. They can never really run out of plots to pick from. And from the fact that they also released the game Anno 1800s recently, just simply means that they are really working on their background knowledge. But it is understandable though that some are skeptical about this, because since we've got to travel all the way back into ancient Greece and things were not so much focused on storytelling and more about the epic of an open world game and utilizing powers and working like a bloody Knight of Athena. Which is amazing, by the way, I enjoyed it. It will not sit right for everybody. But this video is meant to not exactly convince you if you are skeptical about it, but just make a case for you to consider why it is that the Viking Age is actually a bloody good period to set the game for. First and foremost, of course, the age of the Vikings. The Viking Age ranges around 800 AD in the 11th century, where vast numbers of Scandinavians left their homeland to seek fortune elsewhere. The influence of the history was spread all around Northern and Eastern Europe, the English Isles, and even going as far as what we know nowadays as America. Around the midst of the 1100th century, the Viking Age came to a halt, as Christianity has taken over most of the Scandinavian countries, and what remained of Viking culture was being absorbed into the culture of Christian Europe. Second, of course, there's the Vikings themselves. Now, Hollywood or comics or whatever medium that you now get your information from have not exactly done them the biggest service ever, as they are mostly depicted as men and women who just drank, fucked and fought, which, as many culture at that time, they surely did, and to some extent probably overdid, but that's not what they were all about. Now, trust me, you can take the words of a real Dane, to which I already hear you say, wait, this guy, real Dane? Yes, I know that you are shaped like a Viking and you enjoy the snow, but still, come on man. Well, I was raised here for about 11 years, about half of my lifetime, and yeah, this is just as much my culture as being African is. So yeah, let's just keep going. Here in Denmark, we are all taught about the history of the country, of course. So the name Viking itself originates from the word Norseman, or as the monologuing voice in The Witcher 3 would say, Men of the North! And contrary to some popular conceptions, the Vikings were not a race linked by ties of common ancestry or patriotism. While we do enjoy our patriotism here and our football team, and whatever beer and food that we eat, for the Vikings that was not exactly what defined them. But in terms of what they came from, most well-known Vikings originated from Denmark, or what old Denmark was, being a huge alliance consisted of both Denmark, Norway and Sweden. Though of course there are mentions of Finnish, Estonians, Sami Vikings and a bit all around Europe, as they were more or less conquerors, as the name Viking, once again bringing that back, stems from the Old Norse word vik, meaning bay or creek, which was formed to the roots of the word vikinger, or as we are calling them here in Denmark, meaning pirates. So essentially they were pretty much yar-yaring their way all around the European seas, since they actually were pretty damn good seamen. Yes, I said good seamen, I know, I'm a bloody child. Since the topography of countries such as Norway and Ireland and Scotland as well made it insanely hard to cross around the mountain range, they decided to pretty much say, screw the mountains, let's become pirates. Think of them more as a group of explorers who, much like Christopher Columbus, did have an army. An army whose strength of course stemmed from many years of combat, but also from creating infrastructure and architecture for which they could live in. Like the amazing forts that were built all around Denmark, such as one that I've been at, Trelleborg or Trelleborg, it sounds weird saying that in English, which were insanely fortified forts housing both civilian and military, and was home to King Harald Bluetooth. Yes, the icon on your phone. And again, much like Columbus, the Viking did enjoy setting out on expeditions, which were a mixture of raiding and trading for goods, and of course searching for places to settle on, for which, by that comparison that I made to Christopher, they of course found America, or rather, the place that we know nowadays as Newfoundland.
Even a salad would do.
But excuse me for bringing back this Columbus comparison, but you know how history is usually being written by the victor, and Columbus has usually always been depicted as this glorious man who did nothing wrong. But yeah, history has shown that it wasn't actually the case. But the reverse actually happened for the Vikings, as in this case they were the ones whose culture was dying, and the victims were the ones who wrote the histories and depicted them as these savage, nonsensical barbarians. Not to exonerate whatever they did in the past, but the story might have been just slightly over-exaggerated. But how does this actually connect to Assassin's Creed? Well, this could be a great opportunity for Ubisoft to finally go back to more Assassin's Creed lore, as in between the events of the 4th century and the 11th century, not much is known actually. We know from Assassin's Creed Unity, from the Helix Navigator, that the city of Byzantium was renamed Constantinople by Emperor Constantine I. And from that point on there is a blank canvas, nothing to be known about the Order, as they only resurfaced in the 11th century with the crusade to capture the city of Jerusalem, and around the 12th century the construction of the Masyaf Castle, and the introduction of Altair ibn Lahad from the first Assassin's Creed. So lore-wise, this could actually be the ideal prequel to the first Assassin's Creed, and probably a reintroduction into the lineage of Desmond Miles. From Scandinavian to Syrian to English then Indian, there's a lot that they can pick from here. But with regard to the route that they are already on with the whole mythical aspect of the Assassin's Creed franchise, there is also a lot of potential. Now, Norse mythology is a vast one that I am not going to be covering in this video because this is well deserving of something on its own. But it has had its influence on Northern, German or Anglo-Saxon, as well as Gallic culture. And from what Cory Barlog, creator of God of War, tweeted last week, I could smell a crossover between God of War and Assassin's Creed. Not a literal one, but more in the sense of the aspects and mythology that is employed in that game. There's also The Witcher, which again does deal with similar topics. Areas such as Skellige and parts of Valence are based on Slavic and Northern culture, which were both influenced by the Vikings. But this is all but speculations. Nothing is being confirmed yet, and a lot of what we are doing at the moment is just theorizing. But it could be cool. It could be very awesome if they decided to pick this up and it actually was going to be surrounding these topics. I mean, you have something like what we have in Jutland or Jutland here, called the Yellingsteins or the Yellingstones, which were carved by King Gorm the Old, the father of Harald Bluetooth, and they depict the transition of Viking culture to that of the Christian ones. And it could be an interesting thing to have those stones actually depict something about Isu technology or Isu civilization. I mean, I'm just I'm just doing some verbal gymnastics right now, but it could be super interesting. It's a great concept that I am looking forward to. But what do you guys think about Assassin's Creed Vikings? Where is the direction going to go? Do you like the concept at all? Let me know in the comment section below. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you didn't, give it a dislike. like some fair criticism, check some more of my content, and if you're new to the channel, of course, hit that subscribe button to see more. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.